Hello again. We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your dinner and fellowship at your tables. Please join me in thanking a few more sponsors. I also want to welcome our virtual audience to the program tonight. We'll be having a virtual feed for the rest of the evening. But we have generous sponsors still to thank. And would our friends at Community Tissue Services please stand? Thank you, CTS, for stepping up as a gold sponsor. This group processes a lot of the tissues that our donors provide so that they can be used in meaningful ways. And we really appreciate their partnership with our organization. Now I'd like to invite Ossium Health to please stand. Ossium is doing some really impressive work to allow our donors to give bone marrow, which is the first for deceased donors. Thank you, Ossium, for your silver sponsorship level support and for being here tonight. And we certainly can't forget to thank our dessert sponsor, which will be coming shortly. There is a delicious cheesecake that is being brought to you by our partners at Old National Bank. Would you all please stand? Thank you. Now it's time for the awards portion of the evening. 4 special Gift of Life employees will present for us tonight. In addition to the important work they do every day, each of them has been personally touched by donation or transplantation, and in one instance, both. Together, they represent the waiting list, tissue donation, organ donation, and 2 are recipients. I could not be prouder of them for the work that they do at Gift of Life and for their participation in tonight's program. As you all know, it takes many hands to deliver miracles. So the program will recognize people involved at almost every step of the way in the donation process. It almost always begins with the Secretary of State employee who asks a customer, would you like to join the donor registry? Then it transitions to first responders and the difficult and heart-wrenching work carried out by nurses and physicians at our donor hospitals. Tragedy then turns into hope for patients at Michigan's 8 transplant centers and beyond our state. We hope that when you hear about the accomplishments of our award winners this evening, you'll leave with some ideas of your own and the inspiration to carry them forward. If we all find new and different ways to help make donation happen, we can and we will meet the urgent need of more than 2,400 patients critically waiting in the state of Michigan. We must, because people like Pam Powell are depending on us.
This right here was the very first cruise I went on. First cruise on Carnival. When I think about retirement, or when I thought about retirement, I really never thought I'd be able to spend my 401k. I thought I was going to be leaving it for my husband and for my kids. I had a disease called sarcoidosis. So sarcoidosis is an autoimmune disease, almost like lupus, where your body attacks itself. So in my case, with the lungs, it subtly got worse and worse and worse. Eventually, I developed pulmonary hypertension. And with that, they determined between the both that I needed to have a transplant. My donor was Brad Stone, age 12, died of an asthma attack. His parents, Jeff and Sharon Stone, gave the gift of life and gave me the gift of life. That's just really a selfless act. Her child who passed away is the reason why I'm living, so I appreciate that. And I acknowledge that really almost every day. And even 21 years later, we are still connected. We are part of the family. We share time together. And I'm grateful, because it didn't have to be this way. My story could be totally different.
If I had a chance to gather up all the donor families that Gift of Life Michigan had worked with this last 50 years, my first words to them would be thank you. We meet families on a tragic day, and there's nothing that we can do to take away that pain and that grief that they're experiencing. However, through donation, we see donor families transform that pain into something good. The fact that they've been able to save or enhance someone else's life becomes very meaningful to them. And most people don't have that experience after a death. Most people can't say that my loved one saved someone else's life.
That's my son. And that was him graduating from elementary school. And now he's 40 something. And he's married with a beautiful wife and 2 children. When I wake up in the morning, I say, thank you, Lord. I'm only here because 21 years later, because of the gift that they gave.
Good evening. My name is Shalonda Griffin, and I'm a Gift of Life Community Relations Coordinator in the Flint and Saginaw region. And there I teach hundreds of high school students about organ and tissue donation. I also work with the media there, at hospitals in the region, and with the community at large to educate and inspire residents to join the registry. I'm also personally connected to donation through the waiting list. My beautiful husband, Greg, was a type 1 diabetic who battled high blood pressure as an adult. He was diagnosed with kidney failure in 2012 and began dialysis later that year and was added to the waiting list in 2013. Greg waited more than 6 years for a new kidney when COVID took his life in 2020 before vaccinations were available. He helped me promote donation by sharing his story with TV and radio media and talking about the importance of donation at community events. I'm so proud that he made an important difference for others. Part of what made Greg so special is that he didn't focus on just what he needed when he talked about donation, but instead he focused on what the other 2,500 patients on the waiting list needed to survive. His willingness to give and help, along with his determination to live, inspire me every single day. It is now my pleasure to present the first of 5 awards, and they all represent the crucial donor registry and community involvement aspect of the donation process. Cy Jones is a 26-year veteran at the Michigan Secretary of State, the place where saving lives through donation begins. She works as a clerk at the branch office in Livonia, one of the busiest offices in Michigan. Now, you've all been to the Secretary of State, so you know it can be a bustling and fast-paced place as clerks work hard to be both efficient and helpful. Now, Cy does all of the essentials to help her customers. And as a passionate supporter of organ and tissue donation, she never misses the opportunity to ask the all-important question, would you like to join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry? Now, if our customers need more information or they just aren't sure, Cy graciously explains how their decision can save a life by providing hope for those who are waiting. She's patient and willing to take the time so she can add one more name to the registry. Cy's dedication to the donor registry doesn't end with customers. She's also an incredible source of motivation as she reminds her colleagues that they too have the power to save and transform lives. Her drive clearly inspires others. Thank you, Sai, for setting an example and being an active participant in the donation process. You are saving lives every single day. And we are thrilled to present her with the 2022 Secretary of State Champion Award. Sai could not be with us tonight, so we will deliver it to her in person. Gifts of Life relies on more than 400 active volunteers across the state to tell their stories, register new donors, be a source of information and inspiration at events, schools, and more. They are an accomplished and mighty group. Among them was Kenton Kurth, who is receiving the Volunteer Champion Award posthumously this evening. Kenton learned about this award in January, and he was absolutely thrilled to be chosen. He passed away suddenly just a few weeks ago, and everyone at Gifts of Life is heartbroken. His family is here tonight to accept this award on his behalf. Now, the retired school teacher from Grand Rapids captured our hearts and our appreciation with his unrelenting drive to make a difference by talking publicly about his kidney pancreas transplant. Now, I nominated Kenton, so it's very easy for me to say why he was so deserving of this award. Now, as I mentioned, he lived in Grand Rapids, yet he repeatedly volunteered to talk with high school students in the Saginaw and Flint area with me about his transplant to lend real-life perspective to my presentations. Now, most schools are in session by 7:30, 8 a.m., and he made the 100-mile drive without hesitation, sometimes beating me to the school. Now, as a retired school teacher, Kenton was incredibly skilled at connecting with and engaging teens. I can honestly say Kenton never met a stranger. Now, Kenton shared with me that talking with high schoolers about how his life was saved by a generous donor 6 years ago was one of the highlights of his transplant journey. Gifts of Life was so lucky to have Kenton, and I'm incredibly proud to present this award. Please join me in welcoming his wife, Sarah, and parents, Phil and Judy, who will accept his Gifts of Life Volunteer Champion Award for 2022.
Okay, I know why there are Kleenex at all the spots so that we all have one tonight. Those of you that knew Kenton knew that he had so many passions in his life. He loved teaching. He loved coaching golf and basketball. He loved his family, and he really, really loved Gift of Life. And in addition to Gift of Life, he loved his grandchildren. A year ago, yesterday, we had twin grandchildren born. And it really was one of the most amazing years of his life. COVID was very hard because he couldn't get out into the classroom and meet with students with Shalonda. And last year brought that back, and he had the opportunity to meet with class in the classroom. But there was one rule. I won't do a Tuesday and I won't do a Friday, because that's the day that he had our grandchildren at our house. And if you think a 6-year-old can take care of 2 infants, you're wrong. So Kenton had a helper for the summer, and it was our neighbor across the street, Ava. And I thought I had a special relationship with Ava. But Ava's relationship with Kenton went even deeper than I ever knew. So this week, when her mother sent me a copy of the poem that Ava wrote in 9th grade for a class project about Kenton, I knew there was nothing else I needed to say except for to read this poem. And this really does tie together the two things that he was most passionate about: gift of life tonight and Ava and our grandchildren. The terror of our worst enemy creeps up behind me, and I never would have seen it coming. I stutter, I blink. Why is this happening? I can't see the grief because my eyes are filled with tears that drop like the never-ending waterfalls. It finally sets in. I stutter, I blink. Why is this happening? It doesn't seem fair, equal, that many wonderful people feel this pain. When the world keeps twisting and turning, people keep concerning and learning. I stutter, I blink. God, why is this happening? It all comes too fast. My breath comes as a gasp, trying not to focus on those sweet memories while my mom and my dad try to comfort me. I stutter and I blink. God, why is this? I can't seem to tame the ever-rising blame. I know God is good, but I wish I understood. Then I read a quote by Mother Teresa, and I get to release the death grip of pain. I have never had clarity. What I've always had is trust. That means I don't have to worry about everything being blurry, because God has it all in his hand, and it's all already planned. I still can't believe that this is reality. But even when I don't know your pain, I can see what began. With a smile and a wave, then somewhat brave extension, to watch their brand new grandchildren, then conversation, and a lifelong situation of friendship was built. God, I am very thankful for his time with us. My emotions are tangled, but I can still see the plus of having him in my life and enjoying all the time I got to spend with him. Thank you, Lord. This is what gift of life gave Kenton. He gave him the chance to see our son marry a wonderful woman, our daughter graduate from college and then grad school, our grandchildren, 6 more years of life together. We don't know why things happen, but all the people in this room have an opportunity and have affected the chance for people to continue to experience all these miracles in their life. And I know that Kenton had a passion of giving back because he had that extra time. So thank you.
Anytime I'm around Londell Cook, I can't help but smile because he radiates pure joy. His love for life and the gratitude he has for the donor who saved his life motivates him to give back. He is so joyful they put him on a billboard. As a digital ambassador for Gift of Life, Londell shares the story of his kidney disease and transplant with hundreds of followers on social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. His posts spark conversations with his audience, and he's right there to answer with insight and accuracy. His ability to help us reach multicultural audiences is valuable beyond measure as we work to grow the donor registry in those underrepresented communities. And for that, we are grateful. But Londell's willingness to reach and teach goes well beyond the internet. He has shared his transplant story with Saginaw, Flint, and Detroit media outlets. Londell has also been an authentic voice for the HIV Oregon Policy Equity Act, also known as the HOPE Act. And as a spiritual young man, Londell has helped Gift of Life promote and celebrate National Donor Sabbath. He is so many things. He's also an anesthesia technician at Covenant Healthcare in Saginaw, so he didn't blink when we asked him to tell his story to nurses, physicians, and others directly involved in the donation process there. His first-person account as a transplant recipient was published in Covenant's newsletter to more than 10,000 employees, physicians, and volunteers. Now, for all of those reasons, and probably many more, Londell Cook has earned the Multicultural Difference Maker Award. Londell, I'm so proud to present this to you. So have you heard of Michigan HOSA? Allison, yeah. We love them. If not, I'll tell you a little bit about it. HOSA stands for Health Occupational Students of America. In this state, more than 100 schools with students who want to pursue careers in healthcare are part of this national program. HOSA provides them, mostly high schoolers, with skill and leadership development opportunities in healthcare. HOSA has been a Gift of Life partner since 2018, when the Gift of Life HOSA Donor Registration Challenge was born. Last year, 24 schools participated in the 3-week competition among its chapters to register new donors and educate the community. The group's combined efforts were astounding in 2021. Students registered nearly 1,000 new donors and completed more than 3,000 donation-related events and activities. Their work also resulted in 5 media stories helping educate and inspire Michigan communities. That was just 1 year. Since 2018, HOSA students have added 3,144 names to the registry. Not only has Michigan HOSA helped grow the registry, but their partnership has provided Gift of Life with a unique opportunity to connect with students, teachers, and families from every corner of the state, including the Upper Peninsula. Now, 2 schools earned some Rockstar Awards last year. Now, I just want to say the 2 years prior, the schools from my area were winning, so we had to pass the torch to someone else. Anchor Bay High School won for the most donor registrations, and Bloomfield Hills High School earned recognition for the most activity points. Thank you, Michigan HOSA, and congratulations for your well-earned Community Partner Award. Please don't ever leave us. This is the first year for the Legislative Champion Award, and the recipient, State Representative Felicia Brayback, is so deserving. Representative Brayback sponsored and advocated for the signing of Michigan's HOPE Act, which passed unanimously in the Michigan legislature and was signed into law by Governor Gretchen Whitmer in December. Now, the HOPE Act allows for some pretty amazing things in the transplantation realm. For the first time ever in our state, HIV-positive donors can save the lives of HIV-positive patients waiting for organs. Before this new law, Gift of Life sent those organs to other states where HIV-positive transplantation was already happening. Since 2015, 21 states and the District of Columbia have adopted the legislation, and these transplants now take place at 36 hospitals and transplant centers nationwide. The HOPE Act was Representative Brayback's first bill, and she represents the district where Gift of Life is headquartered in Ann Arbor. She secured scores of co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle, and in the process of making the HOPE Act a reality for the people of Michigan, she has become a passionate advocate for donation. Here's a news clip about the law and Representative Brayback's efforts.
Well, a bill recently introduced in the Michigan House would make it possible for HIV-positive patients to donate organs.
Our Angelina McCall spoke with the lawmaker behind the bill and Gift of Life Michigan on the effect it could have.
1.2 million people across the U.S. are living with HIV. Here in Michigan, HIV patients are barred from donating organs to fellow HIV-positive Michiganders. Representative Felicia Brayback hopes to change that.
Just feels like, as Michiganders, we should want to do this and do this for our residents and their families and extend life.
Representative Brayback introduced House Bill 4521 last week that would allow organs to be harvested and transplanted between HIV-positive patients.
HIV isn't obviously what we thought of before as a death sentence is no longer, which is wonderful. And if we can improve that even more, that's just another no-brainer to me.
The bill has the support of 32 co-sponsors from both parties, as well as the support of Gift of Life Michigan.
Every organ donor counts. Every organ transplanted counts. And it gives an opportunity, it increases the pool of patients, if you will, that we can recover organs from.
Across the U.S., 19 other states plus D.C. already allow organ donation between HIV patients, including nearby Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. So when an HIV donor passes away, their organs legally can only go to positive recipients in other states.
It's really just the practice of medicine catching up to what's been legislated.
Gift of Life transports between 6 and 9 HIV positive organs each year, a small number that nationally can grow into hundreds if states continue passing similar legislation.
We're not going to see thousands of organs from this legislation, but it's significant enough when you add it up across the country that it's meaningful.
The legislation would also send a message to HIV positive folks that they can donate and have the choice to save a life too. In Grand Rapids, Angelina McCall, Fox 17 News.
Now, Representative Brayback couldn't be with us this evening, so we also have a short video message from her about the award.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sure that all of you are having a fantastic time at Gift of Life's Gala this evening. I'm so sad that I can't be there with all of you, but I am so honored and humbled to be receiving the Legislative Partner Award for the work that Gift of Life and I got to do together at the state level for the HOPE Act. The HOPE Act is incredible. It allows folks who are HIV positive to be able to donate their organs to other folks who are HIV positive. We are saving lives here in Michigan. For all of those folks out there who are and families who are on donor wait lists, this allows organs to stay in Michigan and for us to save Michiganders' lives. I couldn't be more proud of this work and this legislation. I am proud to say that this is the first bill that I've passed in my first year as a legislator, and working with Gift of Life to be able to save lives here in Michigan was remarkable and awesome in the truest sense of the word. So I'm so grateful to be your partner in this, and I'm grateful that we are saving lives together.
Morgan Foreman from Representative Brayback's office is here to accept her award.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Thompson, and I've worked at Gift of Life for 23 years. I've been involved in the clinical side of things since the beginning of my career. Today, I work as the organization's liaison to all 8 of our Michigan transplant centers. I, too, am connected to donation in a personal way. I became a donor dad in 2010 when a devastating stroke took our oldest daughter's life. I was on my way to work in a messy December snowstorm when the phone rang. It was my wife, Jill, calling to say that Amanda had fallen in her room and she couldn't wake up. I turned around and life has not been the same since. Amanda was just 20. Her whole life was in front of her. She was in college. She absolutely adored all of her friends and looking forward to her future. She loved to read, so we pretty much never seen her without a book in her hands. Harry Potter series was popular at that point, and it was Amanda's favorite. So when we were saying our goodbyes, we tucked those books inside her casket as we did say our final goodbyes. She couldn't donate organs, but her corneas are undoubtedly helping someone read their own books today. And her heart valves, as you all know, were a life-saving gift of life. My family is so proud of Amanda's final act of kindness. Help people just like tonight's next award winner. Without the gift of bone, as a 12-year-old kid with cancer, Sergeant Kristen Main would have lost her arm, maybe even her life, and she certainly wouldn't have been able to fulfill her dream to become a police officer. And without her donors graft, Gift of Life Michigan wouldn't have Kristen as a passionate community advocate for organ and tissue donation. For more than 10 years, she's been telling her story to medical professionals, community members, conferences, you name it. She's talked about donation and what it means to people just like her on the receiving end. Kristen is a police sergeant in Battle Creek with the Nottawasapi Huron Band of the Potawatomi tribe. I knew I wouldn't make that. And she is the only winner tonight to receive 6 nominations. Although one of the nominations came from her wife, it still counts. Of course, who knows her best? Aaron had this to say about Kristen. She's a dedicated advocate for organ and tissue donation. Kristen reflects daily on the gifts given to her and strives to create a life that her hero, her donor, would be proud of. Kristen, congratulations on receiving Gift of Life Michigan's 2022 First Responder Champion Award. Kristen's not able to be with us tonight. We will make sure she gets that award. Without donation champions inside hospitals across Michigan, donations simply would not happen, and nurses interact the most with Gift of Life. They make referrals, they collaborate with donation coordinators, and so much more. They also help us with operating room logistics. Until very recently, Vicki Flemings was the OR manager at Detroit Receiving Hospital. Having access to operating rooms at hospitals statewide is critical for us. But getting on their schedules can sometimes be a challenge, and if we can't make it happen, things get very stressful. That's where Vicki came into play at Detroit Receiving. She told Gift of Life's Michelle Traxel she would do just about anything to get us on the docket. Michelle had this to say, quote, "Without access to OR, we don't have donors. And without Vicki, we would have some major struggles. She is invaluable," unquote. Vicki says she's motivated to help others because she knows what life on the other side of it looks like. 10 years ago, Vicki's good friend, a young father and husband, received a new heart after waiting for 2 frightening years. He's healthy and happy now, and they have another child because of the gift. That is what gives me that push, Vicki said. Sometimes we get a call that there's a donor and we say, we don't have time. But it is one shot for us. It is one shot for Gift of Life. So I will do whatever it takes to get my cases on the board. Because someone is waiting for this organ. Lives are in the balance. That's what moves me. Thank you, Vicki, for saving the lives of people just like your friend. It is my privilege to present you with the 2022 Nursing Champion Award. Our next award winner is Dr. Thomas Gravlin. As a generous and thoughtful pulmonary whiz at St. Joseph Mercy Ann Arbor Hospital, just down the road from our headquarters and busy surgical center. What many people don't know is that we lean on St. Joe Ann Arbor Hospital and experts like him for testing and other crucial services. For his part, Dr. Gravlin has been performing bronchoscopies at our ICU as we try to place lungs for transplantation. That contract ended in 2021, but not because he's no longer willing to help us. It ended because he, without charging us a dime, spent hours training our donation coordinators to safely and effectively perform bronchoscopies ourselves. He did it knowing all along we would no longer need his help. Some might think he wanted to get us off his schedule, but that's not the story, according to clinical manager Ian Mugg, who nominated Dr. Gravlin. Quote, "He didn't think twice, and he did it without compensation. He spent hours helping Gift of Life learn how, and then spent even more time checking our bronchs on video to make sure they were good. He's one heck of a guy and a true champion." Dr. Gravlin, I am honored to present you with the 2022 Physician Champion Award. We certainly all agree you are a heck of a guy. It's now time to recognize our outstanding hospital donation liaison. Maureen Bishop has worked at Spectrum Health Lakeland Medical Center in St. Joseph in one capacity or another since Ronald Reagan was in office. But for the purpose of tonight's award, we'll talk about her most important role to us all. Maureen has been the donation liaison for the relatively small donor hospital over on Lake Michigan for the last 15 years. As a clinical nurse specialist in the CCU, she has a respected authority for evidence-based best practices in donation. Building strong policies and powerful, impactful education is a cornerstone of her work. Under her guidance, Lakeland adopted a DCD policy allowing transplant surgeons to determine the wait time. That doesn't sound like such a big deal, but it results in more donors in certain circumstances. And Lakeland is one of the few hospitals in Michigan that has such a policy. Maureen, who plans to retire this year, has been so many things to donation. Throughout her liaison tenure, she has educated nurses, physicians, and senior leaders to be donation champions, helped her hospital achieve national donation awards, and assist a Gift of Life in helping families honor their loved ones. Gift of Life's Aaron McGrill-Miller had this to say about Maureen, quote, "When donation coordinators make the trek over to St. Joseph, a phone call or email always follows with a familiar message. Please acknowledge Maureen Bishop in your donor follow-up. She is incredible," unquote. She sure is. We are thrilled to celebrate Maureen tonight. Unfortunately, Maureen had a death in her family, so we will accept her award on her behalf. Dr. Larry Ramuno became the Chief Medical Officer at DMC Sinai Grace Hospital in Detroit just last year, and quickly became a dedicated champion in the heart of Detroit. Candace Novotny from our hospital development team asked to meet with him shortly after he took the job. Dr. Ramuno made a commitment to become Sinai Grace's first Gift of Life donation champion and has followed through on his pledge so many times. According to Kansas, he is a lifesaver. For example, Dr. Ramuno advocated for donation in several cases where the outcome was anything but certain, but the results were positive. He also navigated a tricky brain death declaration involving a registry patient, and that patient became a donor. A few months later, a patient's family gave us some time constraints, but we couldn't get an operating room, and we had trouble getting an echo. Candace contacted Dr. Ramuno, and both issues were resolved within an hour. Most recently, he intervened after an OR was delayed. Dr. Ramuno contacted a physician who huddled with staff and saved yet another donor. A strong supporter in hospital administration is clutch in building a culture of donation at any hospital. Dr. Ramuno, thank you for leading by example at Sinai Grace. It's my pleasure to present you with the Hospital Executive Leader Champion Award.
Good evening. I'm Christine Pider, and I'm a senior lab technologist at Gift of Life's laboratory. I spend my days, and sometimes nights and weekends, matching donors with patients on the waiting list and testing to make sure donation is safe for potential recipients. I'm also connected personally to donation and transplantation. 13 years ago, I tore the ACL in my left knee. My orthopedic surgeon asked me if I wanted to use my own hamstring muscle to repair the damage or receive tissue from a donor. I opted to receive a donor's gift. After the surgery, I spent some time in physical therapy, but it didn't take long before I was able to do all the things I love. My kids were 3 and 5, and I put my new knee to use quickly as I tried to keep up with them. Sleeping Bear Dunes is my happy place. And shortly after my transplant, I made the 3-mile trek on the Dunes Trail to Lake Michigan with my family. In a lot of ways, my repaired knee is stronger than my right knee, so I hope to be able to walk the dunes well into my senior years. I'm also a runner, and since my transplant, I've completed countless races. I'm training now for my biggest challenge thus far. At the end of August, I will compete in a 31-mile ultra trail run in Marquette. Because of my donor, I received the gift of an active, pain-free life with my friends, my family, and our much-loved Boston Terrier. I cannot thank my donor enough, and I hope I've made that generous person very proud. The next award is for our spiritual care champion, a role that isn't always tightly connected to donation. But when chaplains and other clergy are passionate about it, they can make a real difference. This year's recipient, Michael Goddard, serves as chaplain at McLaren Oakland Hospital in Pontiac. Some have said this honor is overdue for a man who often carries much of the donation process and the families in the midst of it all right on his back. As a kidney recipient himself, he knows lives hang in the balance if the right steps aren't taken to keep the complicated donation process moving forward. Because Michael Goddard has some of the earliest and most real conversations with families about their tragedies, he guides our staff about how families are doing. He lets us know if they bring up donation and when the time is right to talk with them. Sherry Kleba from the hospital development team at Gift of Life had this to say about the chaplain. When I go on site for a referral, he immediately makes a beeline for me to talk about the patient and the patient's family. He does whatever it takes to help. If we can't find the attending physician, he has that person on the phone a few minutes later. He'll even interrupt them while they're rounding. A clinical manager at Gift of Life said this: you could call in the middle of the night and he would answer every single time. He's unbelievable, a donation champion if there ever was one. Michael Goddard was right there in December to care for a special donor after shots rang out at Oxford High School, 20 miles north. Justin Schilling was one of 4 students killed that day. His mother, Jill, recently talked with us about her experience at McLaren, Oakland. I don't think I could have done this without Father Michael. It was his presence, his words, energy, and calm that made the difference, and my entire family fell in love with him. He helps me shift emotionally, and I see the light in donation. It wasn't something I would have considered because I didn't understand how it works and what it really does. Father Michael showed us all how this wasn't just horrible. It was also beautiful. His presence and internal light derailed our freight train and sent it in a beautiful direction. Justin saved the lives of 4 people with his kidneys, liver, and right lung. He also transformed life for countless others with his heart valves and other tissue. Michael Goddard was there for Justin's family on day 1, and after all he became to them, they asked that he give Justin's eulogy. He obliged. He is a true champion to donation, to families, and to hope and new life. It's my pleasure to present you with the 2022 Spiritual Care Champion Award. We all know physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists, and others are there with families as they navigate the first phases. End-of-life teams are there too. We're going to recognize an incredible one tonight, a first for this event. The Family Support and End-of-Life team at Ascension St. John Hospital in Detroit takes care of those families like all end-of-life teams do. But team members Amy Fox, Linda Khaleesi, and Kristen Keelan are a trio of compassionate advocates working for donation through the entire process. They're problem solvers who are actively advancing the culture of donation there. Here are a few of the examples. They talk with other hospital staff about why calling in referrals is critical. They reach out to us without hesitation with questions, concerns, and ideas. They make sure every single donor at St. John is draped with a Donate Life flag, then presented to the family just before their loved one goes to the OR. The team also gives blankets to families with the explanation that many are crafted by families who experience similar loss. Amy, Linda, and Kristen also advocated for a policy change that allows for earlier donation conversations with families, a first in Michigan. It's important because we know that families who learn about donation options sooner will say yes more often, which leads to more lives saved. Congratulations for the End of Life Team Champion Award for 2022. Now it's time to recognize this year's Transplant Center Professional Champion. When patients become donors, someone is on the other end taking care of those who are waiting. After their life-saving transplants, someone is always there to look after those gifts and the recipients as they heal and begin to thrive. At Michigan Medicine's Transplant Center, Nurse Manager Coordinator Joanne Brooks is making sure patients get the best care possible. From both ends of the process, donation and transplant, folks call her a tireless, proactive, determined superwoman of sorts. Over the past 12 years, Joanne has learned about and championed donation, knowing the result is nothing short of a miracle for so many babies, kids, and adults waiting for organs at the U. If you ask her, she'll tell you donation is incredibly important for donor families whose sisters, brothers, parents, or spouses live on through their gifts to others. Dominique Brown, a medical assistant in the Pediatric Heart Center, nominated Joanne. She had this to say: "You can't do a transplant without donation. It's just not an option around here." Joanne is involved in donation and supports transplant at the same time. She's a shining light around us all and a true donation champion. Joanne, congratulations and thank you for all you do. This next award celebrates someone who makes a tremendous contribution to tissue donation. Dr. Michael Markey has been championing donation as Chief Medical Examiner for Sparrow Health in Lansing for more than 2 decades. Over the years, Dr. Markey has been an accessible, collaborative thought leader. His office was an early adopter of something called MDI Log, a digital tool that automatically sends tissue referrals to Gift of Life. Dozens of other counties got on board after he promoted the technology in ME circles, helping increase tissue donation across the state. He also works with us on time-sensitive donor recovery cases, sometimes moving his autopsy time so donation can happen sooner. For him, that means going in early or staying late, making personal sacrifice to help others. So we know he walks the walk, but according to Holly Marsh in his office, Dr. Markey also talks the talk. She told us this: "We've had new people here say they don't support Gift of Life. Dr. Markey says, you absolutely will work with Gift of Life because we're here to help families. There will be no barriers in this office. By the time they leave here, they're on board." Holly said Dr. Markey has had families of donors thank him. They say it helped their family with the healing process. In a business that sees so much tragedy with car accidents, drug overdoses, and other horrible things, this makes us feel so good. Dr. Markey, congratulations for this 2022 Medical Examiner Champion Award. Six years ago, Gift of Life recognized Sharon Guy Mascarello for her work supporting donation as a funeral director, embalmer, and instructor in the mortuary science program at Wayne State University. Her support of donation and work to promote it has been invaluable. Sharon also has taught hundreds of mortuary science students over the past 10 years and sent them into the world understanding that the funeral industry exists to support families, and that support extends to their donation decisions. Her nomination this year, however, is about her most impressive contribution as a donation champion. In 2021, Sharon wrote the 6th edition of the only embalming textbook in the world. Her priority was to completely rewrite the chapter on organ, tissue, and eye donation. She spent months researching and collaborating with Gift of Life and experts nationwide to publish relevant, accurate, timely, useful chapter about donation. The embalming book is used in every mortuary science program in the US and abroad. The book will be used in classrooms across the nation and world as early as this spring. Sharon, congratulations, and thank you for giving the world the information it needs related to funeral service industry and donation. We can't thank you enough.
Good evening. Let me adjust this. My name is Tanisha Campbell. I am the Community Relations Coordinator in Metro Detroit area. And one of my main focuses is youth education. Through the award-winning All of Us program, my colleagues and I have been able to teach, thank you, have been able to teach hundreds of students about organ and tissue donation. I also partner with other organizations to educate and inspire people to join the organ donor registry. I am personally connected to donation and transplantation as both an organ recipient and as a donor family. After being diagnosed with kidney disease at the age of 8 and requiring dialysis at the age of 18, my cousin Crystal selflessly donated one of her kidneys to me. Crystal saved my life and enabled me to live a full life that included me getting married last fall. Crystal was there every step of the way. I am also a donor family. At just 5 months old, my nephew Amari died of SIDS. His parents made a selfless decision allowing him to donate tissue so that he can save the lives of others. Amari was able to donate life-saving heart valves to help other babies. We are extremely grateful for Amari and that he was able to save lives through donation. It is time now to present the Donation Storyteller Champion Award. And we're thrilled to hold up the work tonight of TV broadcast journalist April Morton from CBS Detroit 62. With more than 10 years of broadcast news experience, April has reported on everything from traffic and features to crime and courts. Reporting the good, bad, and ugly in any community is a never-ending, usually thankless job. April is doing it in a metropolitan market during an unprecedented time for our country and the world. There are so many stories to tell. Occasionally, April gets to tell stories that simply pique her interest. That's where this award comes into play. The Detroit native has placed a priority on learning about what we do, reporting on some key initiatives at Gift of Life, and what it means to be a donor. She jumped right on in when we pitched a story about an organization of Metro Detroit students who raised $75,000 for Gift of Life at the height of the pandemic. And when we celebrated our 50th anniversary at an open house in Ann Arbor, April showed up with a camera on her shoulder, then took the time to talk to staff, donor families, and recipients for pieces about our historic milestone. Whatever the ask or the story, April puts in the extra effort to show why donation is important and why registering as a donor is a simple act of kindness and generosity. In short, April helps us to tell the story of Gift of Life Michigan and how we save and improve lives. And she tells those stories in a way that connects to her viewers. We're thrilled to have her as a trusted media partner and to honor her work this evening. Here's one example of her reporting.
Nonprofit run by teenagers didn't let the pandemic stop them from their annual charity fundraiser. In fact, their latest fundraiser has been the most successful it's been in its 5-year history. CW50's April Morton shares her story.
15-year-old Krish Gosakar and 17-year-old Kanel Patel are not your average teenagers.
And we're basically a group that strives to obviously make an impact in the community by supporting different nonprofits, but also building up the youth, and our mission is creating the leaders for tomorrow.
The two are a part of an organization called Key to Finesse, a nonprofit started by and ran by teenagers. Every year, the group raises funds for different charities such as Gleaners, Thaw, and Easter Seals. But in 2020, they chose a charity that could hopefully save a life one day.
So we reached out to representatives of Gift of Life, learned more about the organ donation process in depth and the dire need of it within the youth in our community.
So after choosing Gift of Life, the pandemic hit, making raising funds for the charity a bit more challenging.
And this is something nobody had dealt with before, so everything was put on hold. We weren't even sure if we should continue.
But realizing the importance of supporting the organization, they did continue, and like most, pivoted to a virtual fundraiser. The outcome was much more than they expected.
We were able to raise $75,000.
Also, through their efforts, they encouraged 114 people to sign up on the Michigan Organ Donor Registry. They were recognized earlier this month at the Gift of Life Gala.
I couldn't believe that they did that. It's amazing for anyone, but it's especially amazing for young people doing this during a pandemic.
The funds raised will go towards the Gift of Life All of Us Youth program, which teaches students about organ, tissue, and eye donation.
Raising $75,000, it wasn't just more of, wow, we achieved this. It was more of, thinking about the impact that we've made.
In Troy, April Morton, CW50, News at 10.
April couldn't be with us this evening, but as any broadcast journalist would, she sent a video message along.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this recognition. It is truly an honor, but we all know who the true heroes are. That is you, Gift of Life, and all of those who work with you to help improve and save lives. It's an honor to tell your stories, and as long as you're out there doing the wonderful things that you're doing, I will be there to give you that platform. So thank you so much. My apologies for not being there in person. I wish I was, but I am there in spirit. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly appreciate this honor.
Our next award winner has made a tremendous difference for tissue donation in the far reaches of Upper Michigan's Upper Peninsula, excuse me. Donation can be challenging there, with geography working against us and timing a constant barrier. Transportation for our tissue team, and our donors have also been a struggle, and sometimes impossible, which has resulted in lost donors from time to time. So, when Matt Varga and Sylvie's Metro Transport Removal and Taylor talked with Gift of Life last year about how he could support donation on a larger scale, the conversation was all about Marquette, nearly 500 miles away. Matt learned about our need for reliable transportation on the other side of the bridge, then decided to go big. Matt championed for Sylvie's to buy a new vehicle to make available in Marquette for transporting tissue donors, Gift of Life tissue recovery team, and their many supplies. Matt drove the vehicle to the UP, where a driver and a vehicle are now available for Gift of Life's Upper Peninsula transportation needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As a result, Sylvie's transportation directly contributed to an increase in recovered tissue donors last year. For Sylvie's initiative, investment, and commitment to helping Gift of Life and donor families, the company has earned this year's winner of the Taking Initiative Champion Award. Thank you and congratulations to Matt Varga and Nick McNamee at Sylvie's. The next award is for donation advocacy, and we think if you Google what that means, Sue Hannah's name might auto-populate. If it has to do with a special donation project at Ascension Borges Hospital in Kalamazoo, it has, without a doubt, been touched by Sue over the years. She's been described as a one-woman powerhouse, raising her hand to help with or lead almost every initiative related to donation in the past decade or so. Sue organizes donation committee meetings where key initiatives gain traction and make sure Gift of Life has access to medical records. Sue also honors families with a leaf on the hospital's new donor memorial tree, which was installed last year after she partnered with Gift of Life Foundation to make her vision a reality. Donor family gatherings happen every year at Borges, thanks to Sue. Even COVID couldn't stop her in 2021. She made it happen virtually, complete with an honor walk, a Donate Life flag raising, and a bagpiper playing Amazing Grace. Sue also runs something called the 3 Wishes program, which provides dying patients a memory-making opportunity with their family. This compassionate nurturing program can sometimes set the stage for conversations about donation. By now, you might be thinking, wow, what an amazing donation liaison. Nope, that's not Sue's job. Sue's a true donation advocate with other responsibilities at Borges. Thank you, Sue, for making good things happen there. I'm thrilled to present you with Gift of Life Michigan's 2022 Donation Advocate Award.
Don't I work with some awesome people? Thank you all for sharing your stories. Now it's time for the last 4 awards of the evening. First up is the 2022 Innovation Champion Award, and the winner is one of our special hospital partners. We all know from living through it for the past 2 years that COVID-19 pandemic has been nothing but tragic, overwhelming, and debilitating at times. It also has forced many businesses and organizations, including Gift of Life, to be resourceful and rely on trusted partners to help us solve problems. John Gibson and his laboratory team at Beaumont Health in Royal Oak came through for us, and the pandemic began in the early parts of 2020. Naturally, we needed COVID testing for hundreds of potential donors. Our lab is not set up to run those, so we needed to get creative. Our lab director, Walter Herzig, began reaching out to hospitals and other labs across the state, hoping we could find one to run our tests in addition to all the tests of their own. After receiving a whole lot of no's, Walt finally got a yes without hesitation from John at Beaumont. Not only would he take our samples, but we worked out a delivery and documentation process within days, and our testing was given next run priority, so donation would not be delayed, or worse yet, not happen at all. At the crushing height of the pandemic, Beaumont was testing around 1,200 samples a day, yet their lab still managed to integrate our samples and have our results back in 6 to 12 hours. They continued to test for Gift of Life right through the peak of Omicron, when again, hundreds of samples were processed daily. And once again, Beaumont made our tests and donation a priority. John, you and Beaumont Health System are true donation champions. We couldn't ask for a better partner helping us honor life through donation. I'm honored to present you and your lab with Gift of Life's 2022 Innovation Award. John? Gift of Life's core purpose is we honor life through donation. It's the basis of everything we do as we work for patients and families and those who continue to wait. We know so many of you are also honoring life through donation, so our next award recognizes those efforts for one special individual. Dr. Shannon Metta exemplifies what it means to be a Gift of Life champion in the Honoring Life Through Donation category. She lives it in her professional life, and last year, she also lived it in her personal life. As the director of the Neuro ICU at Henry Ford Hospitals, she has a presence, a reputation, and an opportunity every day to exemplify what it means to be a champion of donation, and she does exactly that. As chair of Henry Ford's donation committee and leader of the busy neuro unit, Dr. Metta ceaselessly advocates to honor the lives of patients through opportunities to donate. She educates her staff to follow best practices and just do what's right. Because of her leadership, the neuro team at Henry Ford understands what it means for families on the giving side to help patients on the receiving side. When a donation-related policy needs updating or improving to make the process easier or better, Dr. Metta just gets it done. She's also innovative. She doesn't view new initiatives from Gift of Life as moving the proverbial cheese. Instead, Dr. Metta embraces them and works to get projects launched and running smoothly. She also is the first to personally call us when end-of-life conversations are about to happen with a family to let us know to send someone on site. Just last year, Dr. Metta was affected very personally by donation, and as if she couldn't possibly be more of an advocate, what she experienced moved her to do just that. She now connects with families in an even more meaningful way and can talk with them from a place of understanding. For all these reasons and more, we're so proud this evening to award Dr. Metta with the Honoring Life Through Donation Award. Unfortunately, she could not be with us tonight, but we're going to be sending her award home with Bob Hawkins, who retired last year from the transplant program, but he'll be accepting on her behalf. Bob? Now it's my pleasure to present Gift of Life Michigan's Hospital of the Year Award. We know incredible contributions are made at hospitals across the state, but one medical center stands out for us right now as doing extraordinary work in the field of organ and tissue donation. Its staff is on board, the physicians are engaged, nurses are collaborative, and the hospital is breaking donation records. This year, the honor goes to Beaumont Hospital in Dearborn, a consistent champion for all aspects of donation, not just right now, but for many years. Beaumont Dearborn, once known as Oakwood Hospital, set the example more than 10 years ago as it began flying the Donate Life flag permanently. It was the very first hospital in the state to do so, helping the hospital staff, visitors, patients, and their families recognize that donation happens there and is a crucial aspect of healthcare. Beaumont Dearborn also widely promotes the Michigan Organ Donor Registry with donor drives, not just within its own walls, but also in the Dearborn community at farmers markets and music events. Thanks to Beaumont, donation is a familiar topic at the city's popular Jazz on the Ave outdoor summer party. Before COVID, it was the host to 3,000 mostly African-American attendees every week, and a message about donation was woven into the breaks as the hospital worked to help us reach diverse audiences. The hospital was also one of the first in the state to install a memorial for donors. It's a stunning glass and wood art installation that complements the adjoining multi-faith sanctuary near the hospital's main welcome desk. The beautiful exhibit is a testament to the Level 2 Trauma Center's commitment to donation. Families of each organ donor receives a hand-blown glass dove to memorialize their gift that their loved one gave. Over the past 2 decades, Beaumont Dearborn has averaged 7 organ donors each year. In 2021, as it waded through the chaos and the pale of COVID, the hospital managed to shatter its record with 14 organ donors, doubling its historic average. Those donors saved the lives of more than 40 patients last year. The hospital is on pace this year to break yet another record. Beyond organs, Dearborn consistently ranks in the top 5 or 6 hospitals for tissue donors, with totals well into the 30s each year. When you add it all up, we can absolutely count on this hospital as a true collaborator, a partner that works closely with Gift of Life no matter what the circumstances are to save and improve lives. Congratulations to everyone there who makes donation a priority to help us shrink the waiting list of critically ill patients. And now the hospital's president, David Clays, will join me to accept this award.
Well, thanks, everybody. It's humbling to come up here and work with such a great group of individuals. We have a great donor coordinator, Maria Nash, who really makes it happen with our critical care and surgical teams. You know, last few years, we've had a couple things going on in healthcare. You may have heard about it. So I want to give a special thanks, to Dory and her team and her leadership. It's really difficult at times to remain operationally effective, and her team has done that brilliantly. And then to come back out of the pandemic here as we get into an endemic phase and to see her team functioning at such a high level for all of us is just incredible. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge her leadership, her team's leadership, and the impact her team has on our communities. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very kind. Few people at our Michigan 8 transplant centers have witnessed as many organ recoveries or spent more time with us in the operating rooms as Henry Ford's Bill Madick, this year's recipient of the Gift of Life Legacy Award. For 30 years, Bill has been right there in the operating room with Henry Ford's transplant team and with our coordinators and perfusion teams, helping patients give their final gifts so that others can live. Those at Gift of Life who spent time with Bill know that he doesn't just show up, he arrives, hustling into the operating room, wheeling his cooler in that says Henry Ford Hospital, where miracles happen. For 3 decades, Bill's been arriving with purpose, commitment, heart, and love for what he does to help people. Dr. Marwan Abajud at Henry Ford said Bill is a stable, tireless, energizing force for the transplant team. His presence is palpable, and his "we'll figure it out, we'll do what we got to do" approach has helped the program grow and thrive. People want to be on Bill's team, Dr. Abajud said. He's a coach, not just for the program, but also for trainees and faculty. Above all else, we just love the guy that Bill is. Bill also loves innovation and is ceaselessly thrilled to adopt new life-saving technology. In fact, he was instrumental in the first DCD lung transplant at Henry Ford. As Dr. Hassan Nami said, we talked a bit about DCD. About a week later, Bill calls me at 2 a.m. Hey, I have this fantastic DCD donor who will probably be a match for our patient. Do you want to operate? How could he say no? Bill made sure the protocols were in place and the transplant was successful, and the recipient of those lungs is alive today. Former donation coordinator Tony Trost captured Bill perfectly. I met Bill back in 2008 when I had just started working for Gift of Life. We met in the operating room at Hurley in Flint. Henry Ford was there to recover the heart. I was still on orientation and was there to observe an organ recovery. Bill pulled his big steel cooler right behind the surgeons and told me to get up on it so I could see. From there, I received my first aerial view of an organ recovery. It's something I'll never forget. Bill isn't just a teacher, but he's a leader and an innovator. How he could juggle hospital administration, transplant schedules, new technology, living donors, and his own family is just beyond me. I don't think there was ever a moment where I saw Bill sweat the small stuff. Not turbulent plane rides, unstable donors, nothing. He would just look at me and say, "This is out of our control." I also personally had the privilege of working alongside Bill back in my days at Lifeline of Ohio. As a brand new donation coordinator, I was often very intimidated when we had large recoveries with multiple teams in the OR. I was always thankful to see Bill come through the doors. He always had a way of calming us all and helping the hospital staff relax as he explained what they could do to help. I so appreciated the way Bill explained the perfusion process to me, never making me feel small or dumb. He was sincerely interested in helping me learn a part of the process I wasn't involved with, and that was more than 30 years ago. He also made a point to thank everyone on the team as he raced away with their organ on ice, ready to save a life. When I arrived here in Michigan and I visited Henry Ford to meet the team for the first time, Bill was right there with that big, generous smile. And once again, he calmed my nerves and told me how everything worked. Steve Jobs has said it best. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is do work that you love. We know Bill has loved and lived his life-saving work for 30 years, and for that, he has truly earned a legacy. Bill, we're all grateful for your leadership and commitment to saving lives, and I'm so proud and honored to present you, my friend, with the Gift of Life Michigan 2022 Legacy Award.
I can't believe it's 30 years. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I want to thank my family for being here tonight. And what my father used to tell me, and when I've told my kids, the only one that can make your job fun is you. And if you get up in the morning and say, my job sucks, your job's going to suck. So doing what I'm doing and working with such a great organization and Henry Ford Hospital has been wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bill. Congratulations again to the rest of our winners this evening. One more quick reminder to join us for photos in the back of the room before you head out. And I have one final message for you all. Because of what you do to help Gift of Life honor the lives of donors every day, a record 429 patients and their families donated organs last year. Those gifts resulted in nearly 1,100 organs transplanted. Just think of all the patients, their friends, their families that we touched. It's like a pebble in a pond that just grows bigger and bigger. And while we celebrate our milestone, there's so much work to do and so much in front of us while we try to whittle away at the ever-present waiting list. We cannot do this work without you. You are our champions at every step along the way, and we're so thankful. Please share your ideas and your successes with your colleagues who might advance their own work and wind up on our champion stage next year. And if you're here tonight as a guest or a partner, we hope you're inspired to get involved, to bring your own ideas forward and take your role in donation to the next level. Saving lives is such a humbling mission, and we also are humbled to carry it out with all of you right there alongside of us. Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Safe travels.